Hopes and dreams and things I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear more poetry in life. That's one thing. I think the world is more beautiful poetically. It makes more sense. It flows more deeply. It dresses nicer. It leaves room for interpretation, mystery, and metaphor. It points to truth and reality. It opens a door, a window. Rumi said, I have lived on the lip of insanity. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I have been knocking from the inside. What does that mean? I can't say precisely, but it causes me to dive in deeper. It opens my mind. I have been knocking from the inside. Words of wisdom from Coventry Patmore. To one who waits, all things reveal themselves, so long as you have the courage not to deny in the darkness what you have seen in the light. The coming of a new year means a new look, a fresh start. Richard Bach, author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, wrote, what the caterpillar calls the end of life, the master calls a butterfly. Mary Oliver begins her wonderful poem, The Summer Day, with a set of questions. I think every day should start with questions. Here are hers. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. My theme today is inspired by the winter solstice ceremony with Kevin and Gay. We honor a ritual each year in which we write down something that we want to let go from our lives. It may be a hardship, a habit, a difficulty that has weighed upon our shoulders for too long, a relationship, a trauma, a direction that we want to change. And then we write another word or phrase. What do you invite into your new life in the coming year? Where do you hope to go? What do you want to see or feel or hear? A lot of people have some pretty creative ideas. Here's one. I hope and dream for the fair and equitable distribution of resources to all humanity. That's bold. Unitarian Universalist churches all over the country at this time of year begin with similar rituals. A fire ceremony like we did, burning our papers, or dissolving paper in a bowl of water. A UU minister in Vista, California used to lead a guided meditation in the New Year service and pass out cards for each participant, each one with a different word, one word to be contemplated in the coming year. Here's a ritual I really liked. A church in Massachusetts held their New Year program not in the sanctuary, but in their large coffee hour room. Participants made about 200 bag lunches for local shelters, accompanied by personal handwritten cards. Extra note, they then delivered the lunches. But no ceremony that I read about has quite the flair that Gay and Kevin add to it, standing in a circle of fireworks. That will get your attention. I was watching TV recently in a daze late one night, lying in bed, when one more plea came on for giving money to the Wounded Warrior Project. One more quest then followed for saving animals, just $19 a month. One more chance to fund the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I was groggy. I was tired and half asleep. I began to think about how many times I hear the phrase, "Thank you for serving." At football games, in news reports, our soldiers honored everywhere. I'm so conflicted by this message of hero worship for our country. The notion came to me, I wish that I could hear one time, "Thank you for not serving." I mean no disrespect to anyone, but thank you for your commitment to a pacifist life. Thank you for deciding to pursue another avenue, for speaking out on behalf of the millions of innocent women and children and others killed in war. And so this sermon idea was born. For me, the question is more than just, what do you hope for in the coming year? Asking the question, what would I like to hear, implies a concrete action taken by someone. For example, I would love to hear a U.S. president say, "We apologize for the slaughter of indigenous peoples. We are sorry for the enslavement of an entire race of peoples and the systematic slavery which has continued unto this day. We vow to make reparations." But not all of these ideas I had of things I want to hear involve saving the world. Some are just pet peeves of mine. For example, I wish I could hear policemen say to drivers, "I pulled you over because you were tailgating." The number one cause of multi-vehicle accidents, aside from intoxication. It seems that no one is ever pulled over or ticketed for following too closely until after they have caused an accident. Do you know the simple 2-second rule? It's so simple. You know, they used to say, follow one car length behind for every 10 miles an hour of speed you're going. That is so complicated. And so here's the simple rule. Watch the car in front of you. When it passes something, a stripe on the road, a roadside on the side of the road, begin to count. Go, and 1 and 2. Do not reach that place that they are at before you get to 2. It's a 2-second rule. Follow 2 seconds behind. It is so simple. Now here's something I would like to hear, an idea with a religious theme. We, the people of the Christian faith, declare that all language is metaphor. and that the Bible was not intended as a literal body of writing for either historical or religious purposes. We understand that a literal interpretation of Scripture actually prevents the truest understanding of its significance. We vow to place our greatest energies toward living the life of love and servitude exampled by Jesus, and to refrain from judgment, hatred, or pride. I was at a New Year's gathering of friends last night, and I asked this question around of them: what do you want for the new year? One of them said, "I wish we could eliminate the letter C. You can't hear it anyway. It isn't pronounceable." Ironically, the word pronounce contains the letter C. Here is something I wish I would hear on a personal level: nothing. I wish I could truly hear silence. I mentioned earlier that I was watching TV in a daze one night. When I go to bed, I almost always have some background noise. The television, music, or some white noise of any kind. A fan works well in the summertime. This is because I suffer from a serious case of tinnitus. I hear crickets all the time, and they are loud, especially at night when everything else is silent and still. I often wonder what the sound of silence really is. These are just a few of my favorite things to hope to hear in the new year. Mary Oliver's poem that I mentioned ends with this: I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So may it come to pass.